Thank you so much for joining Voices for Fem this morning. Could you start ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Danielli Warner. I teach mathematics at Martin. I teach AP Stats and AP Pre-Calculus, and I've been here for 6 years and a total of 14 years in education.
So what makes you value teaching job the most?
The interaction with the students is priceless, and being a part of their journey throughout education is definitely what keeps me going every day.
Did you have a mentor when you were our age that inspired you to start teaching?
Yes, I was actually in middle school when I decided that I wanted to just teach math. I didn't know back then that a mathematical, let's say, bachelor's degree was a thing, or an education in math was a thing, just to be a teacher. And then when I figured it out right on my freshman year in high school, that's when I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. Can you go ahead and describe your birth experience for us?
Yes, so I've always wanted to have children, and I waited a lot in order to have, my life all together, have a career. So I was older when I got pregnant with my first child. I was about 34 when I got pregnant, and everything was fine. We didn't really have issues with getting pregnant. And everything was fine until 5.5 months in the pregnancy. That's when, because of my age, I had to go through a special clinic that was taking care of, the fetus, making sure everything was okay, the baby. And they realized that I was 2 centimeters dilated already, and that was at 26 weeks. So COVID was in its peak at that time, and I had to be in rest, full rest, bed rest. And 2 weeks later, my daughter was born. She didn't want to stay, and so she was born at 28 weeks. And that was just, I remember exactly what happened, because I had people visiting, and we had dinner, and then I passed out on the couch, and then when I woke up, I was feeling contractions, and I didn't even know what they were, because that was my first child. So when I went to bed, and I was like, no, I'm just going to pretend it's not happening, and that's denial.
Yes.
And then talking to my husband was like, he was timing everything, and it was all under 2 minutes. And he was like, we need to go to the hospital. We need to go to the hospital. And I was like, no, but I'm not ready for this. She's not ready. She's not supposed to happen this way. Because if you don't know me, I'm a planner. So I plan everything. I planned my pregnancies, both of them, to the T. And this was just out of the blue, and I didn't know how to handle it. And then I was like, fine. I just got up and went to the restroom, and then I saw blood, and then that was when I was like, yep, I need to get out of here. And all together, that was very close to midnight. My husband drove like a maniac, and we lived really close to the hospital too. So we made it there like around midnight, and 30 minutes later, my daughter was born already. So everything changed like this. I remember being in the hospital and just thinking like, my God, what just happened? We, as a growing up and thinking about what I wanted this experience to feel like, this is definitely not what I intended,
Your expectations were not, this was not me.
Not at all. So I feel like after that, my level of anxiety was something that I then started noticing, because until then I always thought that I was very grounded, always, probably living in denial, because you don't just develop things like that. I feel like you already have it. And I started developing like high blood pressure and stuff like that because of everything that was going on. And, my daughter stayed 76 days in the hospital. And then her coming back to, like, I was anxious about dealing with a newborn that wasn't full term.
Did you
right?
have support from your family or any friends that were
Yes.
able?
Yes, absolutely. So my husband was always very supportive, and he's way calmer than I am.
Yes.
So he was the one always like, giving me assurance of things and so on and so forth. I don't have family here, so I don't have my mom who's not here, my dad's not here, my brother's not here. So it was only my husband and I mostly, and his family, he's not close with them either. So it's mostly us. And then the whole learning to deal with it, to me, was a lot. It was overwhelming.
Yeah.
So I feel like after doing therapy, which I actually did, later, I realized that even though this whole chaotic situation was going on, I was still trying to work. I was still trying to do things that were my normal, so I could at least have something that was normal to me.
Do you think that helped you by like adapting to, do you think that lifestyle helped you adapt into your life better, or do you think you taking time to acknowledge the symptoms and your experience would have been more helpful?
Definitely. I think I was just trying to be in, I guess, denial. Like you don't accept certain things, right? Maybe that has to do with how I was raised. Like my family was always very religious, so it's like, oh, you have this anxiety or depression, you're not really trusting in the Lord and stuff like that, right? So nowadays, with all of the resources we have and therapy and all that, I was able to then realize, like, nope, I really do need help on things. But it wasn't until my second child that I realized that I had some level of postpartum depression, because the hospitals will do screenings always, right?
Yes.
Like right after you give birth, they always, every time you see the doctor, they will have questionnaires for you to answer. And my answer is always no, 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 until with my second child, this was actually months after he was born, that I realized that my mental state was affecting my relationships, the way that I would handle situations with my children and stuff like that. I was much more on edge. I also remember talking to my doctor about being on birth control nonstop, just so I wouldn't have symptoms of PMS and stuff, because for me, it's all in my mind. It's more me putting myself down than anything, right?
Do you think your mental health was extremely strained at that time of your life?
Yes. Oh, yes. Having to deal with the second pregnancy, which was much better than the first one because of the history, doctors were already paying attention to it. But at the same time, it was a lot. You have a small child that needs you constantly, and I had C-sections, so you still have a lot to recover from physically, and a toddler that needs you as well, So there was a lot of educating my daughter about, hey, I can't pick you up. I'm going to have to just sit down and then you can come sit with mommy and stuff like that. But then I realized how much, I was feeling sad and down and blue.
Did these mental and physical challenges, did they surprise you during this experience for postpartum, or did it kind of were you realizing it at the time you were going through these experiences or after the fact?
So I think my realization happened more after. It was more when I was like, why am I so down? I'm usually not like this. And I've never, for me, I feel like there's levels of postpartum depression, just simply because I never felt like harming my children. I never felt like the extreme depression that I've heard of, that I've had friends that have had before. It was more of, this is affecting how I perceive things, and it is affecting my relationship with my husband. It makes me completely sensitive to things that I usually am not, or insecure. It brings out the worst on you, honestly. So that's when I started realizing, okay, well, and there goes Google, right? We Google everything. So I was like, is it possible to have postpartum depression months after you have your child? Because to me, I didn't know. To me, it was like, it has to be immediate, right? So you deliver your child, your hormones are crazy, And yeah, that's when you have it. But
Mhm.
apparently not. You can have that up to 2-3 years after.
So this is more of like a delayed reaction, delayed realization.
Yep, absolutely. So that's when I was like, that to me was such an aha moment. And I was like,
Do you have
this is
anyone
it.
else in your life that experienced anything similar?
Oh, yes. I talked to some friends at church. One of them said that she even was not okay holding her child. But they had support, like they had family here, so they had to be on medication, but much stronger medication for that. And some of them really needed to be like put in support institutions, I guess you can say that. But mine was more in the sense of I don't want to be having. I call myself a realist, but some people understand that as being negative. But to me, it's like it made it worse, if that makes sense. So dealing with my husband, like he has a strong personality and mine is more of a submissive one, so maybe that's why we do well together. But then that wasn't doing well.
It wasn't clicking?
Because I was taking everything personal. I was, and I tend to not do very well with criticism. So imagine being in a state of depression where your mind is not really the way it's supposed to be. Everything is worse, So then I contacted my best friend. She's a nurse practitioner, and I asked her about it. It's like, hey, so is it possible to have postpartum depression months and months after you deliver your baby? Because I thought my hormones were already some sort of going back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
But then she's like, no, you can. And then she told me that she took some medication too. Sometimes she's not on medication, but it's because she understands, she's in the field.
Mm-hmm.
She knows her symptoms and she knows when to take it. And she's like, you could ask your doctor for some medication that is not really heavy duty medication,
Mm-hmm.
that can put your hormones back to balance and you can be better. And I did. I actually didn't wait long at all. I called the doctor that same day, and I made an appointment for the next day because I told them I think I have postpartum depression, and they took me the next day.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to see them, and then I told everything to my PCP, and they did a questionnaire again, and that's when I started realizing that my answers to my questionnaires before were just denial. So
Did you ever do blood work to take a look at your hormones and everything like that?
they did.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this pregnancy was kind of the second one was again chaotic in a way because my son still had to go to the NICU, but for 7 days only, so that was not nearly as bad as my daughter. But I had preeclampsia after because I was retaining a lot of liquid and this and that. We were dealing with having a newborn in the NICU, coming back home, not being able to my swelling wasn't going down and stuff and like that. And then my blood pressure was extremely high, and I already dealt with that before, so I was taking medication for that. But because I stopped the medication, my doctor was fine with me stopping the medication before. This time I was able to measure. I knew my symptoms too for that. And then I was not feeling good one day. And then I measured it was like 180 by 110 or something like that. It was very high. So then I told my husband, I need to go back to the hospital. I am cut pretty much still.
You were able to detect the symptoms though,
yes.
And realize that you needed help.
Yep. Yes. And then I went back. I called the hospital and I went back and they took me. And I'm glad they did because my doctor said that my hormones were crazy. My enzymes were also not in the right place. And she said that if I hadn't gone, knowing my symptoms, things could have gone south pretty fast. So preeclampsia is pretty severe. Yes.
Did everything, how has do you ever relapse or get those symptoms again, or were the issues able to be addressed?
No, addressed. It's
Immediately.
all good. So I'm back on my blood pressure medication. My swelling went down, all of that, and then now I do take medication for my mental health as well.
You do.
hmm
Do you still go to therapy?
I do. Less than I did, let's say, about 6 months ago. I was doing pretty much every week. Now I do every other, or 3 weeks, every 3 weeks.
And I know that you shared that you were raised in certain ordeals were shared with you when you were in your family and when you were growing up. And do you think now that you've gone through your experiences, you're more open-minded?
100%.
100%?
Yep, very much so. I feel like I have experienced things that my parents haven't in my life, so definitely just moving here and because I was born in Brazil, but living here has definitely made me much more open to different things, including accepting the facts that I do need medication for my mental health, being a mom too, and being a perfectionist, which is to me honestly a curse if you think about it, because everything has to be perfect in certain ways. And I do judge myself a lot in the sense of, am I doing the right thing for my children? All of those insecurities come out too. And if you're not in the right mental state, it's going to be downhill from there.
Do you think some of the constraints that you're experiencing are like self-placed, like you're imagining that the bar is at a higher level than it is? And
100%. Because I remember, especially like with breastfeeding,
Yes.
I always put pressure on myself to breastfeed and stuff. But with my daughter being born as premature as she was, I couldn't produce anything. And that really made me sad, like that I couldn't. And I would see other moms in the NICU too produce bottles and bottles of milk, and I would work so hard to just have this much. And until I realized, like, it doesn't have to work for everybody. You have to work with what you can, because I needed to be there for her, for my daughter too. It's not just, if I crucify myself, then what?
exactly. And I feel like a lot of mothers, they have a hard time realizing that each experience is so unique, and it's not something that you can just isolate yourself for and shame yourself for. And I'm really glad that you were able to experience and realize that, because I do know a lot of mothers takes a long time for them to accept that and realize it's not their fault, and there's not a bar for them to meet, because they have their own requirements for themselves. And I think that's amazing that you were able to go through that.
I would say too, social media is not the best thing.
100%.
You see all the perfection out there in social media for after 10, 15 edits that they do.
Yeah, it's all like their own narrative being pushed out. And even this interview right now, if there was things you wouldn't want in it, we would cut it out and things like that. And the thing is, being vulnerable is hard, and we get that. But social media does not make it any easier, because you don't know if the story has been altered in any way or changed to make the person look better. So it's hard, especially now with social media being so prevalent in everyday lives and things like that.
They push perfection a lot too, which is not gonna happen. Just take me on that. It's not gonna happen. Now with 2 children, every day is a different day. Live day by day, because you can't. I've learned to let go. That's something that I had to work on a lot. You can't predict everything. You can't always plan everything. You have to learn to roll with the punches too. Yeah.
What are your thoughts about current resources available and consultations and questionnaires? Do you think they are helpful, or do you think this is something that a woman has to realize herself before getting help?
So, being a statistics teacher, we talk about questionnaires a lot, and we do realize how bias affects it. So it's not a problem of the questionnaire itself. It's a problem of the person answering the questionnaire. So I can answer whatever I want, right? So it's a matter of me accepting.
And being honest with yourself.
Yes, being honest is crucial, because you won't be able to get help if you don't face the truth. And that's what I had to do. I had to face the truth. I need help. And if I don't accept that, then the help is not going to help me either, because I can't have someone want for me. I have to want it myself. So.
And then to this current day, are you able to share with your family more of how life is for you, or are you still a little bit hesitant on sharing?
No, I can. I can. Actually, I was surprised when I mentioned to my mom, because we talk a lot. We talk every day, because she doesn't live here, so that's how we keep connected. I mentioned to her I wasn't feeling good, so I asked my doctor for medication, and I thought she was going to be reluctant about it, and she wasn't. So I think she is finally realizing what's going on, that we do need help. And I tell her that she needs to, therapy is great for everybody, not necessarily needing medication, but just having someone to talk to that is completely disconnected from your side of things, your family, to give you a bird's eye perspective of things, 100%. Right? So that is.
And I'm glad you're able to kind of not like break that mindset, but I know, for example, parenting styles, like there's so many, like authoritarian, permissive, like I know parenting styles has a huge aspect on your perception growing up as a kid. And so when you have kids, like you have to kind of choose and keep what aspects as you were growing up to keep, and what was healthy and what's best for your children, because at the end of the day, bringing a child in the world is it's a blessing, but it can be a curse if you are overwhelmed and don't know how to utilize your resources and accept that.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of things that I definitely don't want to be like my parents.
Yeah.
But there's also good things that I do want to do. My parents were way overprotective. I couldn't do much. So I felt like when I finally got my freedom, which was pretty much moving to a different country, I finally started realizing who I was as a person. Because being too close and being too overprotected and doing things that they want to do, not necessarily that I want to do. But again, I'm not confrontational, so I wasn't going to rebel, So it's more of my self-discovery didn't happen until my 20s, let's say like that. Which is fine. Everybody take their own time on doing things like that. But definitely, I'm not doing that to my children. So that's one of the things that I wouldn't do. But then my parents were also very involved in my life. So like, especially as a child, when you form memories and stuff, they would take me to parks and stuff. And those are my warmest memories from being when I was a child. So I want my children to have that too. So.
Is there anything, a message you want, or something you want to advocate for women that would motivate people to not be so afraid or ashamed to feel these things, because it's completely normal? And I think that's a message that I really want to push out there, that everything and anything you're experiencing is normal, and it's okay to be different, and it's okay to not be the standard norms that people are pushing out nowadays. And it's just, what's your overall message you want to give?
Acceptance and looking for change and help, especially help. I tend to be someone that try to do everything myself. And even my husband sometimes has to call me out on that and be like, hey, I am here, so like, just ask for help. I think we women try to pass on the message of being strong all the time, and independent. And sometimes, and that is great. And I honestly believe in that. But sometimes you will need someone, a friend, your husband, your family, someone to rely on and to take care of you too. And accepting, I had to let my pride go on accepting the fact that I needed help. I needed help more than just, prayer and self-reflection. I needed medication.
Another extent.
And looking for those resources, and asking my doctor to tell me what she thought and giving me advice and medication. So definitely self-advocate on that, but also take a deep look inside of your mind and see what's going on and look for help. Therapy is great.
Therapy
It really
great.
is. And it helps you kind of come together with your feelings too and realize what you need as far as help go.
Because I think like therapy, another aspect is that it helps patients realize they can actually project their feelings, and a lot of things are just bottled inside. But once you are strong enough and can advocate for yourself to another person, you start to realize like this is how I'm feeling instead of just balling up inside, which is like a huge aspect.
Yeah, I will give an example of my own mother because she is someone that tends to bottle everything inside. And I don't think she's ever had therapy before. I don't think she's ever actually like done any sort of mental health treatment or anything like that. And a few years ago, she had a heart attack. And my mom is healthy. And she was having a whole lot of pain on her chest. And she ended up going to the hospital, and the hospital said that she was having a heart attack. So they did all the exams. They did I forgot what they say, like when they check your veins to make sure that they're not blocked or anything like that. Hers was clean. So it was all emotional, So bottling things inside will definitely make your body pay on one way or another.
100%.
So just be aware of those things and understand that, yes, we need to take time to breathe. We need to take time for ourselves. And that's something I'm working on too.
Because as a society, we are progressing so much with our research, our innovations. There's so many things out there. And I feel like sometimes people are a little hesitant to access those resources because it's not that it's not normal, but it's the unknown. And as like cliche it is scary to like know the unknown. And I just feel like as we progress and as women are more comfortable with themselves and their environment around them, I'm so happy that these research and studies have been done, so it kind of strengthens women and give them confidence to utilize these resources. And I'm so glad that you're one of them that can accept that. And I'm like, thank you so much for sharing your story. And it's absolutely amazing and empowering because you are a teacher at Martin. You're loved by many students, and it's amazing to see that what you're going to do for your own family and then how you're going to inspire your students today. And it's amazing.
Thank you for the opportunity. This is great that I get to share and maybe help someone that is in the same situation as I was too. And yeah, women power.
Thank you so much, Ms. Warner.